settle in, turn down the lights, and if you'd like to hear more true horror every week, tap the like button and leave a comment. Now, let's begin. I don't know if this really counts as a ghost story or not, but it's something that still keeps me up sometimes. It happened when I was a senior in high school, about 1 year ago now. Back then, our school was the kind of place that always felt weirdly isolated. We were surrounded by woods, no real neighborhood nearby, just the main road and a bunch of trees. The football field sat at the far edge of campus, and at night it was completely dark. No street lights, no sound except crickets and the wind. It was a Friday night in early spring. A few of us, me, my buddy Ryan, and 2 girls we were close with, decided it'd be funny to sneak onto the field after dark. We'd done dumb stuff before, like hanging out on the roof of the gym or exploring the maintenance tunnels under the stage, so this didn't feel like anything new. We just wanted to chill, listen to music, maybe drink a couple beers we'd borrowed from Ryan's older brother. We parked about a block away and walked in through the back fence where part of it was bent up. It was close to midnight, and the whole place was dark. We turned on our phone flashlights so we could see where we were stepping. Half the field was still muddy from rain earlier that week. Once we got to the bleachers, we sat near the top row, set up a speaker, and just talked. It was quiet and weirdly peaceful. I remember joking that it felt like the school didn't exist anymore, like we were the last people alive. About half an hour in, we were mid-conversation when the stadium lights suddenly turned on. It was so bright it hurt to look at. We all jumped up, thinking maybe a janitor or security guard had caught us. But the parking lot was still empty. The press box was dark. The school building in the distance had no lights on. Ryan shouted, "Hello? Anyone here?" But there was no reply. That's when Sarah, the quieter of the 2 girls, pointed toward the far end of the field. "Who's that?" she said. There was someone standing near the fence line. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light or maybe a scarecrow from practice, but no, it was a man. He was facing us perfectly still. Could have been a teacher, maybe a groundskeeper, but he wasn't moving. Ryan called out again, "Sorry, man, we'll go." We started to gather our stuff, trying to laugh it off like it wasn't a big deal. But then Sarah whispered, "He's closer." I looked again, and she was right. He wasn't at the fence anymore. He was standing maybe halfway across the field now, still completely still. We crouched down between the bleacher seats. The field lights buzzed for a second longer, and then cut off all at once. We were left in total darkness. I don't know why, but that silence right after the lights went out was the worst part. You expect to hear footsteps or something, but there was nothing. Just our breathing. "Let's just go," I whispered. We started moving down the bleachers quietly, trying not to make the metal creak. We hit the ground and started heading toward the hole in the fence we came through. Halfway there, the lights came back on again, and this time, the man was standing just a few yards from us. I swear to God, his face looked wrong. It was like his expression didn't match the way he was standing. He had his arms at his sides, stiff, head tilted slightly. None of us said a word. We just ran. Ryan led the way, and we didn't stop until we were back at the car. When we finally looked back, the lights were still on, but the man was gone. Just the empty field glowing behind the fence. We drove out of there immediately. All of us were still trying to process what just happened. Ryan swore up and down it had to be some maintenance guy trying to scare us, but I didn't buy it. The school doesn't have overnight staff. A week later, we went back during the day to see if there were any signs of someone camping out or maybe equipment left near the field. We found nothing. But there was something strange about the fence where we'd seen the man first. The grass was flattened in a weird shape, like someone had been standing there for hours. I've asked around since then. No one ever figured out who controlled the lights that night. They're on a locked timer box in the main building, not something that can be switched manually from the field. Every time I drive past the school now, I glance at that field. Most nights it's dark, just like it should be. But twice I've seen the lights on after midnight, with no games or events scheduled. And even from the road, you can tell when the bleachers are empty. Still, I swear sometimes there's someone standing near the fence, right about where we saw him, perfectly still, facing the field. It started as a dumb idea for our YouTube channel. We called ourselves the Haunt Crew, even though none of us had ever actually experienced anything remotely paranormal. We just filmed in abandoned buildings, played up jump scares, edited static over things, and pretended to see ghosts. It was all fake, until Cutler High. Our school had one of those basements built back in the 1950s. Low ceilings, concrete floors, and a maze of pipes that groaned every time the heat kicked on. It wasn't even supposed to be accessible to students, but everybody knew the janitor kept a spare key behind a vent near the gym. There were stories, of course. Kids hearing voices during detention, a janitor who died down there decades ago, doors that slammed on their own. Every school has stories like that. So one Friday night after basketball practice, we decided to finally film Ghost Hunt Cutler High Basement. Just me, Tyler, and Mia. We waited until the custodian's truck pulled out of the parking lot before sneaking in through the side door. Tyler had the camera, an old Sony handheld he bought from a pawn shop, and Mia had a cheap EMF detector we'd ordered online. I carried the flashlight. The basement door was heavy and loud. "Perfect atmosphere," Tyler whispered, recording over my shoulder. We walked down the stairs, joking to fill the silence. The light barely reached the end of the hallway. There were rooms on both sides, storage, maintenance, maybe old classrooms that had been converted years ago. The deeper we went, the more I felt like the space was shrinking. Nothing happened at first. We filmed for maybe 15 minutes. Jumps, laughter, me pretending to see shadows, Tyler whispering fake EVP questions into the dark. Standard stuff. All of a sudden, Mia stopped what she was doing and whispered, "Did you guys hear that?" It was low, really low, but there was definitely a sound. A slow, dragging scrape, like something being pulled across the concrete floor. It came from the far end of the hall. We went quiet. Tyler kept filming, zooming down the hallway, but there was nothing. After a moment, we laughed it off and blamed it on the old pipes, finished our outro, and left. We didn't think much about it. That night, I dropped them off and went home. Later, Tyler texted me, "Bro, watch this part at 10:48. I figured he'd added a dumb edit or something, so I clicked the link he sent. The footage was raw, no filters yet. It showed me shining the flashlight down the hallway, same moment as before. But when the camera panned left, something moved. It was quick, like a head leaning out from behind the corner at the far end. Pale white, bald, eyes wide open. Just long enough for the lens to catch it before it pulled back out of sight. None of us had seen it in person. I replayed the clip over and over. It wasn't a trick of the light. The face looked real. The skin was almost colorless. I called Tyler immediately. He was already freaking out. "Man, that wasn't us. That wasn't anyone down there." Mia didn't believe it at first. We sent her the clip, and after 10 minutes she texted, "We have to go back." It was the worst idea we could have had, but by then curiosity had replaced fear. We needed more proof. We met the next night around 10 p.m. This time we brought 2 flashlights, new batteries, and Tyler's tripod so we could leave the camera running. The plan was to film the hallway again, just to see if we caught anything. It looked the same, quiet and empty. We set the camera on the tripod facing the corner where the thing had appeared. I stood in front of it while Tyler adjusted focus. "All right," I said, forcing a laugh. Let's invite our ghost friend out again. We waited. All we could hear was just the low hum of the building's pipes. A second later, one of the doors down the hall creaked open. Tyler whipped the camera around. The door stopped halfway open. There was no breeze, no draft, but it slowly began to shut again. We stood there with our hearts pounding. Mia whispered, "It's like it's watching us." Tyler aimed the camera at the door and zoomed in. "If there's anyone here, show yourself." But nothing else happened while we were there. So we packed up fast and left. When we got back to Tyler's place, we plugged the camera into his laptop. It was the same scene we remembered. Us standing, waiting. But halfway through, while the door was closing, the camera's autofocus shifted suddenly, to the right. For a split second, something was crouched behind us. It wasn't a shadow. It was the same face from the night before, but closer, right behind me. Its eyes were black pits, its mouth was open wide. The thing just stared at the camera, motionless, until the image cut to static. Tyler slammed the laptop shut and nearly dropped it. None of us spoke for a long time. We deleted everything, every file. We even broke the SD card in half. A few days later, Tyler texted me again. "Someone knocked on my window last night. When he looked outside, no one was there. But on the glass, there was a handprint." That was 2 weeks ago. Tyler hasn't been back to school since. Last night, I opened my YouTube app. We hadn't uploaded anything in months, and yet, there was a new video on our channel. No title, no thumbnail. Just a 5-second clip. It showed our old basement footage, paused on that frame with the pale face. It was a Friday night and I had stayed late after school to work on a project in the art room. Normally, the janitor comes around and checks the rooms, and I just pack up and leave. That day, though, I got caught up in some sketching and lost track of time. By the time I looked up, the hallways were empty and my phone said it was just past 8:30. I grabbed my bag and started heading toward the front doors, but they were locked. I figured it was just a mistake and that the janitor would come back around soon to let me out. I walked back to the office side of the building to see if anyone was there, but no one was. I tried the side doors. Locked. Every exit I checked was the same. The school was completely shut down and I was stuck inside. I called my parents, but the signal inside the building was weak. I ended up deciding to just walk the halls until someone came by. I figured if I kept moving, I'd eventually run into a teacher or the janitor. The first few minutes were fine. I passed the gym, the cafeteria, the library, completely empty, everything normal but unnervingly quiet. But then a scream broke the silence. It sounded like someone was hurt. A little scared, I kept walking, trying not to freak myself out any more than I already had. I reached the main hallway near the science wing and heard it again, but much louder now. I stopped. I strained my ears and heard someone walking fast ahead of me, running down the hall. I started moving cautiously, convinced someone was messing with me. I tried to follow where the sound had come from. I passed classrooms and lockers, but every hallway was eerily empty. Further down, I saw a figure run past the end of the hall. It vanished around a corner. Adrenaline rushed through me, and I couldn't tell if it was a student, a teacher, or I didn't even want to think about it. I tried to call out again, hoping someone would answer, but no one responded to me. Just that sick, hollow echo from my voice that made the whole building feel empty. I kept moving toward the gym, thinking maybe I could climb out a side door there. When I got there, I felt like I was being watched, like something was hiding out in the shadows. I decided to just keep moving toward the front doors. Backtracking the way I had come, I wanted the nightmare to end. That's when I heard it again. The scream. Now it came from the stairwell near the art rooms, the very wing I'd been in earlier. It was loud and sounded desperate. I kept telling myself to stay calm, but my legs felt like lead. I slowly approached the stairwell and saw a person running down the stairs, disappearing into the lower level. I couldn't tell if it was a kid or an adult. I didn't follow it. I didn't want to. I ran back toward the main hallway, trying doors I thought were side exits. Still locked. By then, my phone was almost dead, and I had no idea if anyone was even looking for me. The screams came again, this time echoing all over the building from multiple directions. I finally reached the main office. The front doors were still locked, but there was a phone there. I dialed 911 and the operator answered after a few rings. I told them I was stuck inside, that something was going on, that I could hear people screaming, but I didn't know where or why. They told me to stay on the line and that officers were on their way. I stayed in the main office, trying to stay out of sight of whatever it was I'd been seeing. It felt like hours, but it was probably only 20 minutes. Eventually, I heard the sound of police radios outside. The front doors unlocked and officers came in, shining flashlights everywhere, calling out. They found me and got me out. I explained everything, about the screams, the running figure. They searched the school, but told me no one else was there. Just empty classrooms, empty hallways. To this day, I don't know what I heard or saw that night. The school didn't report any break-ins, no one ever mentioned being late that night, and the janitor said he locked up at his usual time. But I swear, walking those empty halls, hearing those screams, seeing that figure disappear, it's something I'll never forget.